Kunja Vihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
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 Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Syam Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki jai. Bhagavan Shri Radha Gopinath ki jai. Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Ganga Maya ki jai. Yamuna Maya ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagwatam ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Nitai Go Pramananda. All glories to the Son of Devotees. All glories to the Son of Devotees. All glories to the Son of Devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. It's a very auspicious day, Purushottama Mas month, and we're here to glorify Srimad Bhagwatam. So I'll do my best. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagwatam ki. It said that Srimad Bhagwatam is the literary incarnation of Krishna, the literary incarnation of God, and it appeared just after he left the planet. And basically it's described as like the sun, and the sun that spreads light on the darkness of Kali Yuga. So I feel very unqualified to be sitting here, but hopefully I get some inspiration. So thank you for coming. Today we're speaking on the 7th canto, 12th chapter, verse 10. And it's a nectar verse. So if you could please repeat the Sanskrit after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Kalpai itvit manayavad. Kalpai itvat manayavad. Abhasam idam ishvaraha. Abhasam idam ishvaraha. Dvaitam tavanna viramet.
Dvaitam tavanna viramet.
Dvaitam tavanna viramet.
Dvaitam tavanna viramet.
Tato yasya viparyaya.
Tato Hyasya Viparyaya.
Tato Hyasya Viparyaya.
Tato Hyasya Viparyaya.
Kalpayitvatmana yavad.
Kalpayitvatmana yavad.
Abhasam idam ishvaraha.
Abhasam idam ishvaraha.
Dvaitam tavanna viramet.
Dvaitam tavanna viramet.
Tato yasya viparyaya.
Tato Hyasya Viparyaya.
Kalpayitvatmana yavad.
Kalpayitvatmana yavad. Abhasam idam ishvaraha. Dvaitam tavanna viramet. Tato Hyasya Viprayaha.
Kalpayitvatmana yavad.
Kalpayitvatmana yavad.
Abhasam idam ishvaraha.
Abhasam idam ishvaraha. Dvaitam tavanna viramet. Tato Hyasya Viparyaha.
Kalpayitvatmana yavad.
Kalpayitvatmana yavad.
Abhasam idam ishvaraha.
Abhasam idam ishvaraha.
Dvaitam tavanna viramet.
Dvaitam tavanna viramet.
Tato Hyasya Viparyaya.
Tato Hyasya Viparyaya. Kalpayitvatmana yavad. Abhasam idam ishvaraha. Dvaitam tavanna viramet. Tato Hyasya Viprayaha. Kalpayitvatmana yavad. Abhasam idam ishvaraha. Dvaitam tavanna viramet. Tato Hyasya Viparyaya.
Kalpayitva.
Kalpayitva.
Ascertaining positively.
Ascertaining positively.
Atmana.
Atmana.
By self-realization.
By self-realization.
Yavat.
Yavat.
As long as.
As long as.
Abhasam.
Abhasam.
Reflection.
Reflection.
Of the original body and senses.
Of the original body and senses.
Idam.
Idam.
This. The body and senses.
The body and senses.
Ishvaraha.
Ishvaraha.
Completely independent of illusion.
Completely independent of illusion.
Dvaitam.
Dvaitam.
Duality.
Duality.
Tavat.
Tavat.
For that long.
For that long.
Na.
Na.
Does not.
Does not.
Viramet.
Viramet.
See.
See.
Tataha.
Tataha.
By such duality.
By such duality. He.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Asya.
Asya.
Of the person.
Of the persons.
Viparyayaha.
Viprayaha.
Counteraction.
Counteraction.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jagatguru Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
Translation. As long as a living entity is not completely self-realized, as long as he is not independent of the misconception of identifying with his body, which is nothing but a reflection of the original body and senses, he cannot be relieved of the conception of duality, which is epitomized by the duality between man and woman. Thus, there is every chance that he will fall down because his intelligence is bewildered. Purport. Here is another important warning that a man must save himself from the attraction to woman. Until one is self-realized, fully independent of the illusory conception of the material body, the duality of man and woman must undoubtedly continue. But when one is actually self-realized, this distinction ceases. Vijaya vinasya sampane, brahmani gaiva hastini, shuni chaiva svapake cha, panditaha sama darshinaha. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, an outcast. From Bhagavad Gita 5.18. On the spiritual platform, the learned person not only gives up the duality of man and woman, but also gives up the duality of man and animal. This is the test of self-realization. One must realize perfectly that the living being is a spirit soul, but is tasting various types of material bodies. One may theoretically understand this, but when one has practical realization, then he actually becomes a pandit, one who knows. Until that time, the duality continues, and the conception of man and woman also continues. In this stage, one should be extremely careful about mixing with women. No one should think himself perfect and forget the Shastric injunction that one should be very careful about associating even with his daughter, mother or sister, not to speak of other women. Srila Madhvacharya cites the following shlokas in this regard. Bahudvanaiva vastunam yatartha jnanam uchyate advaita jnanam ityetad dvaita jnanam ta anyata yata jnanam tata vastu yatas vastushthatamati naiva jnanaktayo vedas tata ektva vedanam. Unity in variety is real knowledge, and therefore giving up variety artificially does not reflect perfect knowledge of monism. According to the Achinta Veda philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are varieties, but all of them constitute one unit. Such knowledge is knowledge of perfect oneness. Amagnatam Yandasna Jalakala Shalakaya Chakshu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Daranti Swakarantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sarvatatam Sahagana Bahuganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devan Shri Radha Krishna Pradhan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakhan Vitamscha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Gajapate Gopesha Gopikanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusata Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakata Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaurabhata Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'll read the translation one more time. As long as a living entity is not completely self-realized, as long as he is not independent of the misconception of identifying with his body, which is nothing but a reflection of the original body and senses, he cannot be relieved of the conception of duality, which is epitomized by the duality between man and woman. Thus, there is every chance that he will fall down because his intelligence is bewildered. So, up to this point in Srimad Bhagwatam, Narada Muni has been explaining to Yudhishthira Maharaj about the 4 social classes and the 4 spiritual classes that constitute a perfect society. Basically how we can cultivate proper living conditions for human beings to cultivate spiritual knowledge, which is actually the purpose of human life. The human form of life is very valuable in that we're separated from other entities, other species, because of our capacity to cultivate knowledge of spiritual things, higher things, God consciousness. So by taking advantage of human form of life through the proper mediums, we can actually be liberated from the repeated cycle of birth and death. But as we can see, this is Kali Yuga, like no one's interested in spiritual knowledge, everyone's interested in gratifying the senses, chasing after temporary, illusory things. So Narada Muni is explaining to Yudhishthira Maharaj the 4 social classes, and we're getting to the point where we're understanding like what is the cause of our bondage in the material world. So basically, Srila Prabhupada, he mentions that this whole material world is bound up by sex desire. It's our sex desire, our lust, which actually keeps us entrapped in the material world. This desire to enjoy independently from Krishna, this illicit sex is you could say like the highest rebellion against Krishna. It's how we can firmly emphasize our independence. And actually, in all situations in the material world, that's the binding force that keeps us trapped in the material world. Yesterday we were hearing about how woman is compared to fire and man is compared to a butter pot. And when you're taking the butter pot close to fire, it melts. So it's recommended that in man and woman, they're not actually supposed to intermingle, to dally, to joke. They actually, Prabhupada saying yesterday in the Prabhupada that proper human society is actually where man and women are kept separate. They only come together for like very important things, management things like this, and obviously, of course, a man and wife, they come together for the procreation of God-conscious children. So Prabhupada yesterday he was saying that actually, if in a society where man and woman are free to intermingle, that's actually a society of animals. So we can see in today's modern society how basically we're given freedom to do whatever we like. It's rampant sense gratification, but people don't actually know that this standard of living, this way of life, is actually degrading us to lower species of life. Like the human form of life is very valuable, but people are actually wasting the opportunity that they have to get free from the repeated cycle of birth and death. So that's why having knowledge, like the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, every individual in ISKCON is actually obliged, because of the knowledge that they have, to go out and reach out to every living entity. Like this is Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, and Sankirtan, it means to go and give the holy name to all the fallen conditioned souls. So that's why we have to take advantage and go and reach out to all the people. So Narada Muni, he's talking about how until one is self-realized, only until this point will that the duality of the material world still exist. So that duality is, seeing man and woman, and also being like influenced by these, like duality is hot and cold, happiness, sadness, which Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Martas Pashas Tukuntaya Shitosna Sukha Dukkada Agama Painonityas Tam Stitikshasa Bharata. Confirmed. So these they arise from sense perception, Sukha Dukkha. Sense perception is the cause of these dualities, this happiness and sadness. It comes from our perception. My Guru Maharaj, he always saying that Vrindavan is a state of mind, Vrindavan is a state of consciousness. So this chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra actually elevates our consciousness to that spiritual platform where these dualities don't exist, because in spiritual world, obviously these dualities don't exist. It's a material concept. But Narada Muni, he's saying, to the point of self-realization, the dualities will exist. So, I mean, I don't know about for you guys, but it seems like this self-realization is not a cheap thing. Like it's actually quite difficult to do, especially with there's so much distractions in today's day and age. Like just leaving this sacred space and walking out, you can see the insanity of Kali Yuga. Like it really can punch you in the face. So it's quite a difficult thing to become self-realized in today's day and age, which is why Lord Chaitanya has come and given us the mercy, the chanting of the holy name, taking prasadam, and engaging us in service. But the reason I wanted to emphasize on this point is because up until that point of self-realization, we're still influenced by the dualities, which is why both Narada Muni and Srila Prabhupada are emphasizing the point that we have to restrict our association with the opposite sex. It's very important because this association is actually the cause of our bondage. Like I can't remember the Sanskrit, but in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking about the process of a fall down, and it begins with meditating on the objects of the senses, and by contemplating these objects of the senses, an attachment arises, and from an attachment comes lust, and from lust there comes anger, and when the anger arises, then one's memory becomes bewildered, and from that we lose our intelligence, and when we're losing our intelligence, obviously, like all our shastric knowledge, everything finished, and that's when we fall back down onto material platform. And so we can see just by having an object coming to our senses, it can lead to a fall down. And so it's very, very quite difficult to control ourselves, and that's why we have to give ourselves the best environment to cultivate the spiritual knowledge. If we're serious about cultivating spiritual knowledge, if we're serious about getting free from material bondage, repeated birth and death, then we have to place ourselves in the best environment for cultivating spiritual knowledge. And that's why we have Varnashram Dharma. Varnashram Dharma is meant to elevate a jiva to the point of devotional service. But fortunately, it seems like a lot of us have been able to jump, we're engaged in devotional service, and we can actually finish this life, this very life, we can actually get free from the bonds of material nature. But it comes down to our desire and our determination, our sincerity, because it is very difficult. In this environment, we're following these forks. I keep emphasizing this point, it's very difficult, but that's why association is the key. Like, if you're sticking together as a group and the mind gets pulled away, then someone can just grab you and pull you back. So that's why association is very important. But this whole week, we've been stressing on the point that man and woman is danger. Prabhupada, I was reading yesterday, he's saying that as long as a man is bewildered by a woman, he'll be forced to take repeated birth again and again. Because the senses are very, very strong. Krishna says they can forcibly carry away the mind, even of one who's endeavoring to control them. So that's why we put ourselves in this environment where we can properly cultivate spiritual knowledge. But one very important point is not to artificially renounce this environment. As in, like you see many yogis, even different types of meditation, philosophies and things like this, where people artificially renounce their environments. They detach from the material world. Like Prabhupada gives a very good example of one gentleman walking into a bank and shouting, "I renounce all the money in this bank." But the point is that actually it's not his to renounce, which is why in this process we engage the material energy in Krishna's service instead of renouncing it artificially. And when I say renouncing it artificially, it's this point where basically you separate yourself from the material energy and you don't interact with it, but it doesn't actually solve your problem, because as soon as the object, like we were speaking before, as soon as the object comes into your senses, you get agitated and it's very easy to fall down. So that's why we need to fix ourselves in a higher taste. We need to have the desire for Krishna must be stronger than the desire for Maya. But again, it's very hard to maintain that higher taste in the neophyte stage of devotional service. Even, what to speak of that, even sannyasis still have sex desire, because it's the strongest thing to overcome. Srila Prabhupada, he was in India, I don't know where, but I was hearing he was at a temple or something like this. He was walking with his sannyasis and everyone was paying obeisances, like dandavats like this, and everyone's paying obeisances, and he turned to his sannyasis and he said to them, "They're all bowing, all of them, all these people are bowing before me because I've conquered sex desire." And then he keeps on walking like this. And that point really resonated with me, actually, that people are paying their respects to Srila Prabhupada because he conquered sex desire, because it's the last hurdle really in this material world. This whole material world is here just for sex. What to speak of that? Modern society, it's all running just after sex desire. You see these like big skyscrapers, all these things, businessmen in their buildings with nice suits and everything. running after money for what? Just to enjoy. And what is the highest enjoyment? Is sex. So you can see even in our society, everything running, all these anxieties people have, this wanting to look good, these advertisings, all these like girls in their underwears running around like this. It's crazy. And you can just see how much that's crept into Kali Yuga. So this is the beginning of Kali Yuga. What to speak of 400,000 years from now, you can see how degraded it is. But we're giving this this golden age, so we can take advantage of it and finish it now. But like it's up to the individual, you know what I mean? Like we all want to go back to Godhead, but how sincere are we? How much are we flirting with Maya? Because like especially with the men, like we like to flirt with Maya. Like Maya will come in and yeah, Krishna, but you know the desire to enjoy is very strong, and it's very easy to just okay, a bit in Maya, a bit in Krishna, like this, and that's in all situations, you know. Even it's said that like overeating with prasad, it can become Maya, you know what I mean? It's meant to be just for keeping the body and the soul together. So it comes like you can enjoy now, but it depends like how much you want the spiritual world, you know what I mean? But back to the point about artificially renouncing. There's one story, Visamitra, yeah. So he was doing like tapasya, very severe austerities, for liberation. But he was in the forest, like doing deep meditation for many thousands of years. But he got to the platform where you know he was very very high stages, and Indra, the king of heaven, he got a bit worried, like, wow, man, this guy's, I think he's after my post, like this. He was getting a bit scared. So he sent a heavenly damsel to go and basically distract him, Visamitra, to go and distract him. So he's doing his tapasya, his meditation, and he hears the ankle bells of this my Devi, this ringing. Huh? What is this? But yeah, so he gets bewildered and basically ends up having a child with this woman. This is someone who's like doing deep meditation, like very like with austerities and everything. He's very very close, but even he gets distracted because he's just in the jungle. He's not having that higher taste. His intelligence isn't fixed. So he ends up having a child, and for many years he's enjoying with this. But then he comes to his senses. Oh man, I got distracted like this, and he goes back again. Okay, another 10,000 years, and then again Indra sends another heavenly damsel again. But this time, he's more intelligent, right? Oh no, I'm not going to fall for this one again. But in his anger, I'm pretty sure he curses this my Devi, and I think turns her into stone or something like this. But again, he falls down because again, he's not controlling the senses. He's still affected by this, you could say, dualities, this happiness, sadness, this flickering like this. And so again, he has to do tapasya. But this time, Vishnu comes. And when he's taking darshan of Vishnu, then his intelligence is fixed. So we can see how only by having the higher taste, that desire to have your mind fixed on Krishna, is the only way to actually truly get free from the material world. And what's the highest form of bondage in the material world is the sex desire. So only by having the mind fixed on Krishna can we get free from the material world. And that's the point of Krishna consciousness. That's the point of ISKCON, is to prepare us for death, to prepare us for the time of death. Because at that time we need to have our mind fixed on Krishna. I'm trying to think of the verse. Yam yam apis maran bhavam chadyachante kalebram tam tam avaite kuntaya sarata bhava bhavita. Almost got there. But basically, whatever Krishna is saying to Arjuna, whatever state of consciousness you have at the time of death, that state you will attain without fail. So depending on the consciousness that you cultivate throughout your whole life, that will influence where you go in your next body. If you take a material body, that is. But if your mind's fixed on Krishna, then you can go to Krishna. And so Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya, out of their mercy, they've given us the opportunity to basically give this one life for many, like we're in Kali Yuga, where the most unqualified jivas to take birth in human form of life. This is like the lower end. This is like we're more simple, very simple. Kali Yuga is quite abominable, but we can actually finish it in one life. Like how many lifetimes have we been, have we had been a male body or female body, dwindling with the opposite sex, trying to enjoy many, millions and millions of lives we've been in the material world, giving your life to family, giving your life to your senses, sense gratification. So one life, why not just finish it? Why not just give one life to Krishna? Like obviously we have to, even be in this temple room, to even be in ISKCON, you have to have a certain amount of sukriti, or mercy of devotees like this. But why not just finish it now? Why keep floating with Maya little bit? There's one more story I'm thinking of. Sabadi Muni. So he was, again, it's another example of that artificial renunciation. He wanted to get liberated as well. And he went to different levels of austerity, but he ended up under the water, deep under the water, doing tapasya. But he saw 2 fish copulating, which was enough to agitate his senses to the point where he actually left and went to a kingdom where basically he ended up marrying 50 wives he took and enjoyed for like many years. So we can see, like, even for these great sages and great entities, how difficult it is to control the mind and the senses. Like, how do we even stand a chance? But we have a mercy of Lord Chaitanya. What to speak of that? We have Varnashram Dharma, which is a system like organized to cultivate this. And I mean, it's with the like Sudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Brahmana. Like, this doesn't really exist so much. But at least we have like the spiritual ashrams, like brahmacharya. You can get trained up, and to the point where if you're having the desire, if you need to take a wife, then you can go and get married like this, and have a family, bring up God conscious children. But then also we're having like, you can take sannyas eventually, but we're having the spiritual classes where we can properly cultivate this knowledge and get properly trained up. Because the point of this, the whole Varnashram system, is actually to detach ourselves from the material world. That's the point of the Varnashram system, is to get free from this material world. But obviously, like, Maya is very strong. She's like pure devotee of Krishna. So, because that actually reminds me about this point. Like Haridas Thakur, he was obviously chanting a lot, like chanting. But one of the local rulers, one of the Muslim rulers, he got a bit, I think he wanted to, like, you know, ruin his reputation, something like this. So he asked one of the prostitutes to go and basically cause a fall down for Haridas Thakur. And this was, I'm pretty sure it said this was actually like an incarnation of Maya. It was a Maya deity, and she was like extremely beautiful. Like when she came to where he was chanting, the whole atmosphere changed. It was like very aromatic, the smells. There were like flowers started to blossom, things like this. So it wasn't just your, you know, like usual person coming. It was like a Maya deity. So she came in. She paid her obeisances to Tulsi Maharani, Yani Kana Shapapani, Rana Tulsi Maharani, and then paid her obeisances to the lotus feet of Haridas Thakur. And then basically, very flatteringly, like, wanted to basically seduce him. And he said, yeah, okay, no worries. I'll like satisfy your desire, but you just let me finish my rounds. I have some rounds to chant. So he didn't immediately get agitated. He was chanting. She's like, waiting there. I think she falls asleep. Like, she comes again. Basically on the 3rd day, she also starts to chant here and there, but just by hearing the pure chanting of Haridas Thakur, she actually comes to her senses and basically also becomes Vaishnava Tibet. I don't know. But so just by Haridas Thakur having his consciousness fixed on Krishna, that higher taste we were speaking of, he was actually able to resist the temptation of the Maya deity. So we can see that by having our higher taste, by having our consciousness fixed in transcendence, that's how we can get the mercy of Krishna. That's how we can receive the mercy of Krishna, by having our consciousness on the high, on Krishna, on the true goal of life. So that's what we have to do. We have to fix our mind on Krishna, but it's very difficult. So what do? We surround ourselves by people who with the same goal. We come to the temple as much as we can. Like even great personalities like Lord Shiva, they get agitated for sex desire so easily. There's that one story where Vishnu took the form of, I forget the name, Mohini Muni. Yes, thank you, Master. He took the form of Mohini Muni, and Lord Shiva, is it Lord Shiva? Wanted to see this incarnation.
Yes.
And Krishna is saying, Vishnu is saying, are you sure you'd like to see this one? yeah, why not? Like he's here with his wife and everything. I just like to see. So then Mohini Muni, she comes bouncing a ball like this, and like obviously like this is, we couldn't even imagine the beauty of this. But so even Lord Shiva, he chases after and gets bewildered completely in front of his wife as well, who's also mine. And so yeah, we can just see like even great personalities, they also get agitated by the sex desire. It's very difficult to overcome. So that's why they keep hankering on the point of association with the opposite sex should be very limited, very limited. And obviously in today's day and age, that's fallen to bits. But like we're emphasizing that point that it's up to the individual. It's up to the individual. Like how much you surrender to Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate with you. How much you desire it, how much you surrender, Krishna will reciprocate. Because we're all having our anarthas, we're all having these unwanted things in our heart. We all get agitated in our mind. Like some days we're happy, some days we're disturbed. Some days it's sunny, sometimes it's raining, you know what I mean? So, but again, we're hankering on that point, tolerate, but it's kind of, we're having this like, this unhappiness, sadness, it shouldn't really be like this, because when we think about it, when we're using our intelligence, when we're having our intelligence fixed on this understanding that actually what we have is the greatest thing ever. We're the most fortunate souls in the entire creation of like high planets, low planets. Like demigods would be stressing out right now that they're not able to take birth in this and get Lord Chaitanya's mercy, because we can just finish it. This one life, we can finish it. We can go back to spiritual world. What to speak of that? We can get the highest position in spiritual world. We can have that relationship of the gopis in separation, if we properly taking advantage of the situation that we're given. So Narada Muni, he's like stressing on the point, up to the point of liberation, we're having this duality. And then in the Prabhupada, he's talking about like having that spiritual vision, like he's referring to Bhagavad Gita, where a pandit, someone who's learned, they can see like the spirit soul in every living entity. It reminded me of one pastime of Lord Chaitanya where he was, I don't know where he was, but he saw the sand dune, and it reminded him of Govardhan Hill. And he went into complete ecstasy just by seeing a sand dune. I think it's very nice. Like it kind of gives inspiration when you can see where this Krishna consciousness can take you. Like you can get to the point of, you can get to that point where you can see like the divine in every situation. It always reminds me of that picture in the Krishna book where Krishna is eating some dirt, and then Mother Yashoda looking in the mouth and seeing the whole universe and many universes like this. I'm always thinking of, it always reminds me of this point, like when we're having that spiritual vision, when our consciousness is pure, we can see the divine in any situation. In any situation. So one story came to me now where we all heard of Gandhi, but he had a minister or like a very high level person in his I guess you could say like team or party or whatever. And this individual, he had a wife, but they were celibate, or he was celibate. So they lived in like separate bedrooms like this. For 20 years it was like this. 20 years they lived in separate bedrooms. And obviously he was like trying to propagate like the independence of India and everything. But one of the rival members wanted to basically defame this certain individual. So he sent a woman to basically go and cause him to fall down. And this in the form of like a secretary, like she was taking notes and everything. And it said that, you know, obviously she was looking very lustily at him, like trying to basically agitate his mind, but nothing happened actually. He didn't even respond, he didn't react or anything. But what happened is later that night, for the first time in 20 years, he actually went to the bedroom of his wife. So we can see how Maya can kick in one way, but because we're having like the association or we're on guard, something like this, we can block it off like this. But actually it's more subtle, like it can come and attack us in a different way. So our mind gets agitated in one way, and then the fall down, it happens in another situation. And that's why it's crazy being in this Kali Yuga when there's so much temptation for sinful activity, like unbelievable amounts. Because that's, you know, what's the point of life? To enjoy. You know, if you're not having knowledge, then there is no point to life. What's the point of morality? The point of life is to just gratify your senses. And that's why in every situation there's so much temptation for sin. So if you're not having proper association, then you're finished. Because the association is what's going to save you from falling down. It's the only way. It's the only way is to maintain the association. So that's why it's very important to come to the temple. Like my Guru Maharaj is saying that even if you come to the temple once a week, you're spiritually poor. Your bank account is spiritually very low. It should be as much as possible to come to the temple to take darshan of Sri Radha Gopinath, who's like most beautiful in everywhere, most beautiful. So take advantage of the situation that we're given, like temples. Krishna manifested himself like all over Western world. No matter where you go, you can always take prasad. You can always take darshan of one of the deities. So it's very important in that sense. So what really stuck to me with this verse is this point about like artificially renouncing. Like it's quite easy. We're speaking about the man falling down with his wife. It's quite easy to think that we're free from the attacks of Maya, and then it gets executed in different ways. So in that sense, we have to be very on guard, you know, chased with our mind, chased with our eyes, like it's both physical and subtle. But instead of just turning to Gopinath when we're having like some trauma in our lives, we should also be turning to Gopinath in any situation. Like when it comes down to it, Krishna is like the only person who can really, like, he knows everything about you. He's the only person who's like most dear to you. You can basically tell him anything. Where with other people, like, especially today's day and age, most people are just in it for themselves. Like devotees is different obviously, and that's why we surround ourselves with devotees. But any one thing that you're having wrong, you can always just turn to Gopinath. Instead of when you're just like in some trouble, any good thing that happens, some realization that you have, or something nice that you read, or some shloka that you memorize, you can go to the deities and say, look, I learned this for you, I'd like to share it with you. And that way you can become very personal with Krishna. Like we can go many, many years in this ISKCON movement without really progressing much. Like it's very easy for these things to become ritualistic, to just, pay obeisances, come in temple room like this. It can become very ritualistic. So you have to be more and more personal in your endeavor in every situation. Like we mentioned before, every step you take towards Krishna, he'll take 10 steps towards you. But this point was made that we're trying to please Krishna, but at the same time we do many things that also displease. So it's very difficult in that sense, like how we're displeasing and pleasing at the same time. Like we have to be very chaste. We're ultimately, like we're all married to Gopinath. So take advantage of the opportunity that's being given, and go out and spread this knowledge to all the fallen conditioned souls. Krishna, he says in Gita, like he who gives this knowledge to other people is most dear to me and will always be most dear to me. So one life, finish it. Go out and meet people, everyone you tell, everyone you meet. You know, tell them about Krishna if you can. Do a little more, do a little extra, especially in this month. But why just this month? Every month. So take advantage and finish it this life. Is there any questions? I don't know what time it is. You know the time?
22.
22? Yeah, please.
How do you know if you're self-realized or not? Because in this verse it says, only an individual is self-realized in approach to others. It says.
Yeah, Prabhupada, in the Prabhupada, he says, like, he quotes the verse from the Bhagavad Gita. I can repeat it. One who sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and an outcast, a dog eater, that's when you basically self-realize. He says it's the ultimate test. This is the test of self-realization, when you can see everyone equally. So, like Prabhupada, he says that all living beings are equal, right? You're spiritual, I'm spiritual, but it's quite difficult because we're misidentifying ourselves, false ego, we think we're the body. But Prabhupada, he says we're all having the same business in the material. Like, this is one way that you can understand, like, we're all having the same business in the material. All living entities, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So that's how you can understand we are all equal, just some are in different species of life. But the ultimate test of self-realization is when you actually see everyone as spirit soul. Like, if you've seen Bhagavad Gita, I think the hardcover, I don't know about softcover, but they have that picture where the person's seeing the Paramatma in everybody's heart. So everyone, you can see everyone equally, but again, Prabhupada's mentioned that we can understand it theoretically, but the ultimate test is actually like practical knowledge, obviously. But for me, I'm not on that platform, so the way to understand yourself realized is to see everybody as spirit soul, but that's theoretical knowledge, not self-realized knowledge. Does that answer your question? Anybody else? Someone would like to ask? Okay, we'll finish it here. Granjaraj Srimad Bhagwatam ki Jai, Prabhupada ki Jai, Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavana ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande.
Jai. The greatest of all. This for break or